Hundreds of founders have practiced their fundraising pitch and received valuable coaching from a panel of judges at the weekly events run by Pitchforce. I'm Sam Wong, and I'm a startup CEO coach. I've done 5 startups with 3 exits. I also wrote a book on startup execution. This video is a short sample of a real live pitch along with some of the feedback given.
All right. Look, I mentioned this earlier. Modern commerce is built on contracts. We're talking trillions of pages of complex, unstructured data that governs virtually every relationship today. Contracts are the building blocks of the modern economy. And the problem with contracts, well, there are 2 big ones. First, they're really difficult to understand. You need lawyers to parse them. Even simple contracts take 20 days and cost $6,000, according to World Commerce and Contracting data. And no one knows what's marketing contracts. Market for just about everything else we buy today is known. These problems make contracting extremely inefficient to the tune of $1 trillion annually. Structured data, we think, is the solution to all of these problems. What I mean by structured data is answers to all of the questions that matter within a contract. Does this contract have a non-compete, a non-solicit? Are there exclusivity requirements? Structured data is easy to understand. It's easy to compare to my playbook or to market. It's also easy to get approvals on. Structured data also enables us to rate contracts based on favorability to each party. Ratings enable our customers to understand contracts at a glance. This is what we do. We translate contracts into structured data. It starts with, we take contracts into our system, these big piles of unstructured data. We use artificial intelligence and human quality control to process those contracts, and out comes lots and lots of structured data. Now, our customers love and trust us. We count as our fortune, one of our many fortunes, the fact that these logos are among our customers today. And the way these customers use our products is kind of twofold. First, NetApp is a great example of a customer who's using our structured data. They've programmed in their playbook to our software, and we're the front end of their contract review system. So when they need to review a contract, it comes to us, and we tell them whether that contract meets hundreds of contracting criteria that they care about in contracts. Freshworks is a large CRM vendor who has a contract that they ask their customers to sign over and over again. They have a lot of friction in that process, and it costs them a lot of money. They use TermScout to make sure that their contract is market and best in class. We've certified their contract as customer favorable. This badge is live on Freshworks and a handful of other vendors' websites today. This is licensing revenue for TermScout, and this is marketing value to TermScout that we expect to have viral effects as we grow. We're at about 230K in ARR today, but we're most proud of our usage stats. I know Sam loves data. We love data as well. We believe that data is how we understand how our business is doing and what we need to grow. And we're proud to announce that since our launch in February, our usage data has grown exponentially. And the awesome news about that is that more usage creates more data for our customers, which creates more value, which is a data network effects business model. And it's that understanding about our business that's leading us to launch next month a freemium version of our product. So our business model is pretty simple. Free version, leading to pro level subscriptions for SMBs and enterprise sales like the NetApp one I described earlier. Our team is phenomenal. I myself worked as a corporate attorney in a large law firm in Denver. Evan, my CTO, was the head of machine learning at Ibotta, a $2 billion startup company here in Denver. Dawn is the head of our legal operations unit. She's a 15-year-old lawyer who spent the last 8 years building proprietary contract rating systems for a large contracting enterprise. My CPO, Bill Moose, Chief Product Officer, was the head of contracting organizations at Sun Microsystems and VMware, the co-founder of the National Institute for the Future of Law Practice, and is a nationally recognized expert on the subject. And Peter Fatiano, our co-founder and COO, was a co-founder of HealthGrades, a company that sold for $300 million.
Talk about the raise, talk about the deal, and tell us how we're going to make money, please.
You bet. The raise, we're raising a $2.5 million seed. We've got $1 million of that committed to date. On the how you will make money, We're building three big assets at TermScout. The first is brand recognition. We're first to market on contract ratings. We expect that would be extremely valuable to any legal tech company, the Westlaws, the Thomson Reuters, also the Googles and Microsofts of the world. The second big asset that we're building is natural language processing driven by machine learning technology. Our human in the loop model makes machine learning endemic to our business model. We believe that will make us a superpower of natural language processing, specifically with respect to contract technology.
All right. Quick question.
Yeah, I'm curious. You mentioned human quality control to supplement the ML. Do you have any stats or metrics to help me understand how much quality control is needed to deal with potential false positives or false negatives?
Yeah, it depends on the contract. It depends, whether an NDA, we're talking 5 minutes of human time. A software contract, we're talking sometimes as much as 40 minutes of in-house time from our team.
So I was in-house counsel auto for startup number 5. I'm not an attorney, but I had to play an attorney's role. I wrote and signed 50 plus contracts. I saw the benefit. I basically built my own version of what you were looking for whenever I had to read all these contracts. And it was one of the worst, most painful, grunting thing to do. Okay. I think most attorneys would rather not read the details and be told the details and then use their legal expertise to build a strategy rather than deal with the mechanics. That's what the junior associates are for. So I can certainly see the value. I like the flywheel effect. I love the badging. A couple of questions I have would be, I would agree with what Paul said, when you said 24 months with 2.5 million, that's on average about 100,000 a month. Obviously, you spend less in month 1 than you do in month 24, but on average, 24 months. And it seems light for what you're trying to do. Okay. I would agree that it seems like you need to be able to have some additional capital. I wonder how much detail you put into a financial model. In my experience, most startup founders kind of do a very high level, maybe back of the envelope thing. To me, being a data person, I am a big believer in bottoms up. That's one of the classes that I actually built on how to build a financial model in my training. So I'd like to see a little bit more to be able to understand, because my concern is that if somebody drops in 2.5 million or whoever, that it's not going to meet the expectations. And then it's, you're going to have to raise a little bit early, et cetera. And once you set an expectation this high and you miss it, you're going to have some, challenges to deal with where you're going to be on a very short leash. And I think you have some capabilities. I would not want to see you on a short leash. I think you can avoid that from the investor community. Founders need to share a lot of information in their investor pitch. A lot of this involves forward-looking statements on what the startup will do and how much it'll cost to do it. Founders need to work with the most accurate information possible, which means they need to do the time-consuming, bottoms-up work to build low-level data that gets summarized up to an executive level. Here, I'm showing a 3-year monthly budget spreadsheet that I use to build the bottoms-up analysis needed. A good, defensible bottoms-up analysis should take into account customer and user growth, monthly revenue and expenses, salaries for each employee you'll hire, and what month you will hire them. This will give you a more accurate monthly view on cash flow so you can actively manage your cash position each month. It should also support multiple growth scenarios from aggressive down to conservative so you can effectively model what might happen if growth is healthy or weak and how you will survive if things don't go as planned. One of the most critical pieces of information needed is your operating costs to reach your next inflection point. Many founders say they are raising $1.5 or $2 million to give them 18 months of runway. Raising funds to just fuel the company for a certain amount of time is almost always a mistake. Founders should raise funds to get them to a key milestone. A nice round period of time like 18 months by itself is not a business milestone. If you raise funds for 18 months of operations, but it takes you 24 months to reach your next inflection point, then you'll run out of money early and have to raise funds in distress. Distressed companies rarely get good terms on their fundraising. Founders should raise the amount of money needed to reach the next milestone that dramatically increases the startup's value. That's the funding inflection point you want to target. If you're not familiar with how to use inflection points to build your fundraising strategy, I'd recommend you watch my YouTube videos on how to build a startup funding strategy. The operating cost to reach your next inflection point is an absolutely vital piece of information. Many founders do a quick spreadsheet in 15 to 20 minutes to determine how much money to raise to give them 12, 18, or 24 months of runway. In this instance, I sensed that the $2.5 million that the founder wanted to raise felt a little low. Paul Twombly, another one of the judges, expressed the exact same concern when it was his turn to provide feedback. When I talked about the importance of doing the bottoms-up analysis, the founder gave a thumbs up, suggesting that he agrees and may have done it. That's great because many founders don't do this work because it's hard to do. However, even if the bottoms-up projected that $2.5 million was the amount needed, it still feels low. If you assume $500K was extra padding, then $2 million is the actual operational budget. Why does $2 million to fuel the company for 2 years feel low? If you do the math, that's an average of $83,000 per month. Part of the startup's target market is enterprise. Enterprise sales cycles can take 18 to 36 months. In addition, many companies that sell into the enterprise space hire a direct sales team. A great enterprise salesperson will make anywhere from $150,000 to $350,000 a year. Although very few startups will build out a large enterprise sales team while they're still in their early stages, selling into the enterprise market can still be expensive. A seasoned startup operator will probably dig into the startup's financial model as part of the investor due diligence, so you need to be ready. Because the financial model is vital to every startup, I built a class on how to model startup financials that includes a simplified version of the 3-year monthly spreadsheet I showed earlier. This allows founders who have some financial aptitude and spreadsheet skills to build their own bottoms-up model. As a startup coach, I also provide a side-by-side do-it-with-you engagement or a simple full-service do-it-for-you project to build out the bottoms-up financial model. I spent a lot of time talking about doing a bottoms-up financial model because it reduces the risk of raising too little money. If you run out of money before you hit your next inflection point, then you'll have to get a bridge loan. Bridge loans usually come loaded with investor-friendly terms because the founder has little choice but to take the money. The end result of raising too little money is usually increased founder dilution, loss of control, and significantly higher stress. On the flip side, founders should also be careful not to raise too much money too early because doing so means you've raised a lot of money when your startup was at its lowest valuation, which results in high dilution for founders and employees. So save yourself a lot of pain. Build a solid financial model that feeds your funding strategy. If you want to learn how to build a startup funding strategy, I'd recommend you check out my funding strategy class. You can find a link to this class or to my startup financial modeling class in the description for this video. Good luck. If you want to participate in Pitchforce, check out the link in the description. There's also a link to our website if you want to learn more about my services as a startup coach or the online training I've built to help founders build a healthy, fundable startup. Building a successful startup is hard. You don't have to do it without help. Check out our resources and you'll get that help.